republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I have just I have a few announcements I'd like to make. One, tomorrow night at Winona State University in Crisco Commons from 5:30 to 6:30, the lower level of Crisco Commons, there's going to be a public meeting with Winona State, bringing up a number of topics about their plans, including the baseball field. So if this is something that you're interested in learning more about, Winona State, Crisco Commons, lower level, Tuesday night at 5:30. Also, I'd like to say our thoughts are with Councilwoman Pam Iden's mother. She had an emergency surgery last night, and that's why she's not here tonight. Today I attended a summit the governor called a Rail Summit and invited all the railroads in Minnesota, the shippers, the first responders, some mayors from around the state, and it was a very interesting meeting, and learned a lot, I think, about what the railroads are up to and their plans for expansion and dealing with some of the congestion and the bottlenecks around the state, rail crossings, safety issues, and just one thing I found particularly interesting is that one of the criticisms has been, if there was an emergency, we don't know what's in that tanker car. There's Union Pacific's unveiling an app on Wednesday. The other railroads are soon to follow, so that first responders can plug into that app and find out immediately what's on there, as well as what's on the entire train. So that will be of some significance. There's also going to be a MnDOT, Minnesota Department of Transportation, is going to unveil a state rail plan, and that's going to be on November 25th from 5 to 7. Is that at the Senior Center?
No, from the council.
Oh, council chambers. There will be a short presentation at 5:30. You can come for the presentation. You can come and stay for a while or leave. If you want to, you can leave and go to the free Thanksgiving dinner at the East End Rec. It's the same night from 5 to 7, so you have a couple of options there. I'd also just want to say kind of kudos to a couple of city employees. I was at a meeting last week, Visit Winona, held at the East End Rec, and both Lydia, who runs the East End Rec, and Julie Fassbender from the Park Rec Department, both on their day off, early in the morning, came and did a presentation about Park Rec programs and the East End Rec, and I just want to thank them for kind of going above and beyond. Also, I've had a number of complaints about signs, in particular the old Happy Chef sign, and this sign is well, I think most people agree, kind of an eyesore, and I know that there is an ordinance against abandoned signs. Subway, which did a beautiful job on their building, I think owns it. I hope city staff can contact them or somebody just to find out what their plans are with that sign. And that's really all I have. City manager?
No report.
Okay, roll call.
Mayor Peterson.
Here.
Councilman Thurley.
Here.
Craig.
Here.
Alexander. Here. Iden. Borzakowski.
Here.
Double.
Here.
In the required public hearings, item 2.1 is a public hearing regarding the appeal from an order to terminate and abate the nuisance at 513 East Front Street.
Call the public hearing open and ask our building inspector, Greg Carroll, to step to the microphone.
Mayor, council members, I trust that you had a chance to look at the information that's been given to you. If you want to turn around, I want to give you a little history on where this is kind of all coming from. And our first first complaint was in the spring of 2000. This was before the roof collapsed. Our first letter was sent on 5/16 to abate the nuisance. We received a letter from Mr. Ives denying the request. Our second letter went out on the 5/29/2003 reiterating the order. Again, Mr. Ives denied the request. on June 8th. A third letter was sent from our office on July 2014 declaring the building at that point a hazardous structure in order to repair or demolish. Letter from Mr. Ives denying the request, July 29, 2014. We've given Mr. Ives a number of opportunities. A fourth letter went out from myself declaring the building and the debris public nuisance and a hazardous structure in order to abate. Letter again from Mr. Ives denying the request. Mr. Ives exercises his right to take the matter before City Council in public hearing. We've been chasing this for some time. This is the building in question. This was back in 2003. The state of disrepair here is evident. This is the nuisance items that are scattered about the property that we're trying to get abated. Now, what you can't tell quite from here in some of the photos is the condition of the structure. There's right here you can tell that it's listing. It's starting to break apart. The building and structure is listing. It's leaning. It's buckling. The roof has been off. I don't know for how long, but once you subject building materials to that kind of moisture for that long a time, the degradation is evident. A few more photos to give you an idea of what it is we're talking about here. Now, by definition, a hazardous building or property means any building or property which becomes of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, physical damage, unsanitary, or abandonment constitutes a fire hazard or public safety or health. So, looking at this building, to me it's evident that it has become a hazardous building. And I'm not going to read all this. By general nuisance for this section, the junk is not defined as a material or substance that does not serve nor is intended to serve any useful purpose. Junk is considered, but not limited to, refuse, empty cans, bottles, used furniture, appliances, and so forth, which there is a considerable accumulation and is visible, therefore a violation. So we have a track record here. We have history of trying to get Mr. Ives to comply. My findings, the failure or collapse of the structure is a real threat. The building is listing, it's leaning, it's structurally unstable. Right now, if you wanted to put a roof on it, I don't think the structure would support a new roof. Exterior plywood is delaminated and deteriorating, and the interior condition is suspect due to the exposure from the elements for years. This thing hasn't had a roof on it in I don't know how long. So, as such, it meets the definition of a hazardous building, which is why it has been ordered to be demolished. City code, the debris in the lot is visible and is exposed to the elements for so long, and there's no real intrinsic value to the material. As such, it's considered a public nuisance and therefore in violation of the ordinance. We received an estimate. Sorry about that. To abate the building. For a cost of about $1,800 to clean it up. The city has to act and incurs all costs if the property owner fails to pay the same within 30 days. The city staff will come back to the council after the process is completed and specially assess the property tax on the subject property. Costs incurred by the city to remove the nuisance condition and hazardous and substandard garage. The resolution has been prepared for consideration. Based on the findings and conclusions and the record of the code and ordinance violation, I recommend the council adopt the resolution declaring it a public nuisance. And also, I recommend the council order that the nuisance be corrected, the garage be removed within 20 days of the order, and if the property owner fails to timely comply, that the city will seek a court order to enter the property and remove the nuisance condition and the garage and charge the property owner for all costs incurred for the city to do so. I kind of came in on this kind of late, kind of inherited it. but I've been out to the site and I've seen what kind of condition it is. It is adjacent, right adjacent to an alley, which means that if it did fail, it could fall into a public way. You've seen some of the pictures, and to me, it's evident that this building is no longer even repairable. That has been exposed to the elements for so long that it's questionable that you can even repair the building. So in my estimation, it needs to come down.
Questions for Greg? Al?
Is there any public health issues associated with the building?
Not that comes to mind right away. There's always a mold issue. I mean,
Sure.
you've got building materials that are laid for so long, have been exposed to the water for so long, there could certainly be a mold issue, but I would say it would be confined to the structure itself. The only health issue could be that if it did collapse and actually fell on somebody or did some bodily harm, damage, or damage some other property or other building.
Okay, thank you.
I know we're talking about the garage here, but I drove by the property, and I was wondering if there have been any complaints about the home itself. It looks like it's used only for storage and looks, at least just from the porch, it looks full.
And as I understand it, our former inspector did make those observations, but it's inside the structure, and it's not necessarily clear and visible. I mean, if you stop and take a hard look at it, you can see it, but we're concerned when it starts spilling out into the yard and starts becoming an eyesore of that nature.
Just a comment, Mayor. I also drove by the building in question, or the house in question, and noted that the porch was, from the front perspective, from Front Street looking south, it was about halfway full of stuff.
Try and take the stuff on the outside that's clear and visible, and look at it from that angle. What kind of happens inside of people's houses is somewhat their own business, unless it starts becoming a hazard.
Other questions? If not, thank you. We may have more later.
Thanks for your time.
Is there anybody here that wishes to speak to this issue? If so, stand at the podium, state your name and your home address.
My name is Don Ives. I live at 711 East Front Street. The property at 513 I owned, bought it in 1978. And the reason I bought it, and the only reason, my mother lived next door. We'd owned that property since the 40s, but she'd never lived in it until just in the 70s when we got forced off the farm and came back. What I wanted to do with the property, it would probably sit idle for a couple years after the guy passed away. I wanted to buy it, fix it, and move my mother into it, and disassemble her house next door, which was really bad. Okay, I didn't have a lot of money, I still don't, but at that time, I purchased the property, started working on it. It must have taken me 7, 8 years at least. I would go through most of my stuff that I put into the property came from auctions. New windows and things like that from companies that went out of business. Oh, almost 90-some% came from auctions. So it took a long time. Finally, when I got to the point where I thought it looked really, really nice, brought my mother into it, I said, listen, let's tear your house down, you can have this place. And she says, no. I will not leave my place, no matter what. Because she had invested her money over the years into it, even though it was dilapidated and run down, she would not move. So here I'm stuck with the property. Another reason I got it, because I knew there'd be a problem if somebody bought the property. That property at 515 and 513 were at once together. They shared the same sidewalk and everything. And the problem with this is anybody moving into it would have raised heck. Because my mother burnt wood. And we burnt a lot. Big pile sat in the yard, 30-some years. And I cut it in the backyard. I had a saw rig back there. And the trouble with this is, if somebody else moves in, this is a low-rent district. It always was kind of a slum area for as many years as I can remember. The railroad tracks in front of it, a few feet from the house, a switch right in front of the house. So anyway, I'm sitting with the property. I can't sell it because knowing what might happen. I've got one thing left to do, is either sit idle or rent it. So I started to rent it. That was the worst mistake of my life, because I couldn't get any quality renters to come down there. When they would come and see where the area was, they would not put up with it. And I made it clear to them. Anybody moving into this house, this is what's gonna happen. The city's gonna push all the snow off the tracks into your yard. There's nowhere to go with it. I'll try to help you with it, but you're gonna have to do. And because of the switch in the front, locomotives used to sit there sometimes for an hour. With that diesel coming out of it, it was so potent in the house that you couldn't even stand yourself, you know. So I made this all clear to them. So the people I got that came there should have been in prison. Most of them were drug dealers, whatever. They came in, they left. They signed a 1-year deal and they're never gone. I don't think they even rented, maybe 6, 7 people all the time. In the year 2000, I took it off the market. The last people, I raised the rent so high that they were moving. I just wanted it, I wanted it over with. Okay. They left, and I let it sit for a couple of years. Then I looked at it, my mother was getting to the point, this was the year 2000, I think it was. My mother was getting to the point that I could tell that she wasn't gonna be able to make it very long, probably going to a rest home. So I had to make decisions. The decisions I made, I thought, okay, I will go ahead and where the garage was, put a slab in front of it and try to move the whole structure in, or build in front where I put the slab and cut the rear of the garage off, because you cannot get into the garage. Maybe back in the, it's probably been here 80 years, maybe back in the beginning there weren't people living around there and he was able to drive in. But I knew this guy before he passed away, and I don't think there's been a vehicle in the garage for 50 years. But all the time I had it, only thing I ever put in the garage was logs and things that I would get for my mother, for wood burning. We would put it in the garage because she had piles out in the yard, and in the fall we'd pull them out and cut them. At the same time, this place leaked all the time that I had it, and I thought, heck, it's not useful. But at that time, I really didn't know that I know about now, is that if you tear the garage down, you can't build another one on that lot. That means if I try to sell the property and somebody comes in and says, oh, we'd like to buy it. Oh, give me a garage. No, you can't put a garage on it. It's only a 25-foot lot. Now this garage, if you look at these pictures you've got, yeah, it looks tough that way. But if you drove there and looked right at the garage, it's not that bad. That wall that you see there, I put that wall on. I reinforce it, and on the inside of the garage, I have a lean-to. Just like you see next door, a lean-to that fills up almost half the garage with a steel roof on it. So what I've actually used the walls like a fence. And that's one of the things that come, oh, you can't have an 8-foot fence. Well, even with that 8-foot fence, the neighbor's been coming over with his ladder and whatever they wanted to do. I've had break-ins always over the wall. So I can actually cut the wall down to 6 foot with my lean-to in there, up to it, and call it a fence. They tell me, oh, no, you can't. Once it was a garage and the walls, you can't change. The heck you can't change. You can change it to anything. So I could actually have a 6-foot fence coming around there. It's no different than the guy to the east. He's got a picket fence going around, and he moved onto his property a big building. He's got the picket fence going around, and there the building sits. It's almost identical to mine, except I've got a lean-to, and mine has the roof on the inside. And like I said, that building's not that bad. If you look at that one wall, I reinforced that walls. I built new walls there on them two where you see the white from the east and from the south. The other 2 walls, I really didn't care because they had 2 trees growing up against them, and I couldn't really get to them, and they were in pretty good shape. The front one was a little so. But I've had so much. You talk about driving by the property. Instead of looking at the garage, you're looking at the house, which would be the next step. Well, I got news for you. If you look in front of that house, there's a wall that was pushed in. Didn't that wait for, I don't know, he was drunk. Came home, because he couldn't get in the garage. He was parked in front of the house. He actually hit the corner. It was that way for years, no problem with it. All of a sudden here, last year or so, I started having all this problem with the neighbors. One day I come there and find my steps smashed. And I actually saw the thing, and it was on a Sunday. I'm sitting down the street because I don't live far away, and I looked out, all these motorcycles. Well, they're all Harley dudes. And all these people have Harleys on east and west of that property. And the problem with it is, I mean, I get there, fine, there's no witnesses, nothing they can do about it. So it's just the bottom step. But if you look at that wall, they were also trying to penetrate the wall. They punched a hole in it, trying to kick it through. Now there's a crack in that. It's not that big a thing to fix, really. You know, I could take it out, put a new block in. It's not really that big a thing. But because I don't live there, and like you said, we see the porch is half full, something like that. The porch is full. The house is full. Here, some years ago, I had a fire in the house. And the fire itself, pretty much devastated. Whatchamacallit didn't think it was too bad because my taxes wouldn't go down. He just kept raising them and raising them. Finally, I had to go in there with 3 pictures of houses that you could live in. I said, look at these. They're living in my garage. Look here, they live in this. Nope, that didn't seem to make any difference. Finally, I got it in 2012. They finally brought it down. The thing is appraised at $19,000 now. It should be appraised at 6. You know, you're not going to get 19,000. It's a contractor comes in and works on the thing. But let's get back to the building. I think it was in 2003 or 4. Anyway, my mother went into a rest home. I think it was in 4. And I had saved up some money, pretty much my life savings. And I thought, okay, this is the time to do it. In the paper, there was an investment company here in Winona offering high rates of interest. I could have gotten almost $2,000 interest a year. I thought what I would do is get at least 1 year, take that money, and put that pad in that I was talking about in front of the property, and then either build off of it or do whatever I could do, plus take part of the principal. Well, it didn't work out that way. Just so happens that my investment went to the firm never invested it, and I lost $40,000 along with I don't know how many people in Winona. The police department covered it up like a rug. The newspapers wouldn't say nothing about it, so it kind of blew over. So there, that was my life savings right there. I was down to nothing. So from then on, there was not going to be a whole lot of fixing. I was just going to upkeep. Well, then little my mother passed away, I think it was in 2006 or something like that. All of a sudden, her house, the county wanted it. So they sold it to this guy that's there now. And he got it. At the beginning, it wasn't too bad. Then all of a sudden, things started happening. It was one thing after another. And I think what's behind all of this is that both he and his friend on the other side, they're close. I think they've gotten together and they're doing everything in their path to get me forced out of the property. Now that house is not, even though I had a fire, it's not bad at all. It's actually pretty decent. I use the basement for washing and drying. I heat the house all winter long. Every winter it's been heated. So I still get enough use out of it. But the shed in the backyard, again, I cleaned part of it out. It's pretty good with that lean-to and everything. It's pretty solid. It's not bad at all. It's not perfect because it's over 80 years old. But it's still pretty good. You look at some of these pictures, you can take a close-up. I mean, that pictures, if you look in here, there's a couple of pictures. Perfect example, if you look at one of these pictures, it shows a tree. It's really funny. There's a tree sitting off the corner of the shed. And one of the pictures you see where the top has been broken off, and you wouldn't know that, but it was thrown up onto the pile to show that when the guy took pictures, that there was something more rubble. Well, first he did that. I picked the top, the picture, the thing when I got the form in the paper or in mail. I took the top and took it home. Well, it was a week later, I go back and I started finding limbs broken off, thrown up on my property, just thrown up on top of this pile of wood that you see. So finally, look at the picture today if you used to go and look at it. Every limb has been ripped off of it. Every stinking limb. There's just a little tree in there. And I was going to put that tree in the middle of the yard. That was a red maple. So these people have done anything in their power. And I think the guy on the east, he wants the property. He wants to pick it up for a song. And he wants to build a garage across because he wants a garage. He also wants to take mine, probably redo it, rent it out, and use it as a rental. That way he can do it because he can combine his property with that one. They'll give him 50 feet. With 50 feet, you can do anything you want on the property. Plus, if his friend on the other side has got that lot that he wanted some off that, he can also get it off of that. So this is the whole thing with the property. That building is held up fine, and I don't know, numerous tons of lumber stored in it. Over where I have my lean-to, I don't have any troubles. But on the other side, I just have one pile I covered that with canvas because I really didn't care. But again, I have the lean-to built inside, and again, it's not a new garage, and it's held up fine. And you could take any kind of a camera you want and magniflux the thing to make it look like, wow, we got pimples on a frog down here. But if you would drove through the alley and looked at it from any angle. Now, some of these pictures here, as you know, from what I understand, the ordinance says from what you can see from the alley and what you can see from Front Street. This guy is standing 30 feet in taking pictures of the ants crawling in the wood pile. So let's get back to the wood pile. That's a wood pile for burning. There was just a few pieces of lumber in there that had cement on it. And I was going to put a sidewalk to the west of the house because I no longer could use the one on the east side. But I never did because of the cost of it. So that stuff was in the pile. There were some metal strips in the pile that was supposed to be going into my kitchen for putting up the ceiling, which after the fire never happened because it needs more work done than that. Out in the yard, there was 2 rows of fence. Those 2 rows went around my garden when I put the garden in there. And of course, the posts that were there held the fence up. Well, the funny thing is, I mean, that's about all there is. All this crap about garbage and everything else is garbage. There is no garbage there. There's nothing. I can tell you exactly to the point everything that was in that yard. And there was nothing wrong with any of it, that you won't find in most yards in town that have a garden or whatever. They all got fences around it. One thing I had there, it's kind of unusual, was a door. It was a screen door. And I got the screen door because when I bought the property, this guy, he had a Virgin Mary with a kind of a thing at the fence there. He had it built in. It looked kind of nice. A little pond he had. Well, you know, it had cracked, things like that disappeared. So finally here, a couple of years ago, I decided to put dirt into the pond and to grow stuff in it. And I bought some expensive stuff. I put it in there and it grew up like crazy. All of a sudden I come back, it's dead. I said, what the heck's happening here? So anyway, I planted again. Finally, I think it was the next year, I thought I'll cover it. Put my stuff in and cover it. Well, I covered it all right with that screen. In the top of that screen was some kind of a killer that he had dumped onto from the west side, had dumped right on top of it. That killer has penetrated that ground now. The only thing that ground will grow now are weeds. Of course, the neighbor is filling in with brush off the tree, so that isn't. But these things are all happening there. There is so much going on in the tree that sits on the line outside my house, which you should have had a camera out in the front to show that you can't see much of anything, except what you can see is what the neighbor is doing. He's hanging stuff on that tree that stays there 365 days a year. Just old rushy looking stuff. Why is he hanging it there? To bring attention to my property. So this is all what I'm saying. I'm saying there's nothing wrong with this property. I'd like to see it remain as it is. I keep it up as much as I can. About 2.5 years ago, I was going to do some things. I had a bad knee problem. 16 months ago, I had to have a knee replacement. It's not working out. They don't know what to do about it. So I can't really kneel down a lot. I can't do a lot. So it limits what I can do. And that's why the property, I was going to paint it, but you have to get on a ladder and stand up on the thing. I was going to do stuff like that just to help it out a little bit. The paint usually doesn't stay on anyway. I was going to do things like that, but I haven't done it. In the front, I was going to put a different door in, and then maybe tighten up the front. They were original, the boards is on there, but I haven't done it. So what I'm saying that this building, there's nothing basically that you won't find in a lot of places on the East End and a lot of places in town that are poor people and they've never done anything to their buildings. They sit there and they get to a point when they pass on, somebody else gets it. And if they have enough money, maybe the next person puts a building there. But on a 25-foot lot, you can't do anything. So this is what I'm saying. The wood pile that was out the front, that was wood burning. My mother, for 30-some years, I don't think ever got one letter from the city bitching about all the piles of wood we had out in the open. There I got one that was completely covered by tin that you can see in that picture. Except somebody had to steal the one in. I don't know what for, but I guess they wanted to. So I actually could have cut that off and you wouldn't be able to see anything from the street or from the alley. But I left that extend out there to keep people from using that walkway. So this is what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I've got.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Is there anybody else here that wishes to speak to this topic? One final time, anybody else wish to speak to this? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and open it up for council deliberation.
I do have a question for Mr. Ives. I'm probably going to kick myself for asking this, but I just can't help it. We've got a couple of letters, sir, that you wrote. Did you mean everything that you put in these letters?
I can't remember what's in it anymore, but I mixed up pretty much everything.
Okay.
One of the things that was discussed about the tax time.
No, that's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to how you closed two of them. Basically,
Oh, I know what you're probably saying, take it at work.
No,
nope.
dealing with the health of the person that
The
might
health
come
of
up.
whatever happens to the people we send over there, you stated that in two different ones. My point in bringing that up in the event that, not that it's going to change the manner in which we vote, but it could change some of the expenses that may be included if we have to bring law enforcement along if something is going to be done. So in the event that a vote is to abate that property, was this just a little bit of anger, or do we really have to have law enforcement there?
No, basically that was there because I thought one day I'd come in the bed, they'll be gone.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that we don't have to have law
That's all
enforcement
other
there.
motives. I mean, I didn't want them coming down or doing anything without all this.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know that.
What's that?
I wasn't. Okay.
Is there anybody have a motion?
I guess I would move option number 2.
Michelle, did you have something?
Well, I just mean, from the conclusions?
Yeah.
From the findings?
From the procedure and recommendations, alternative, I guess it would be number 2. I'm looking at something different here.
Yes, that's what I
Yeah.
was trying to get at.
Yep. So I'll withdraw that if you've got something else here.
Well, I would move to accept all of the conclusions in order that by 3 PM on 20 days from today, the conditions set or the findings are dealt with. And I don't know the exact date of 20 days from today, because I don't have a calendar.
20 days from today would be a Sunday.
Then,
We make it Monday,
Yes.
December 8th. Is that right?
Mr. Bud?
Just for helpful clarification, I guess the staff recommendation is to adopt the proposed findings, conclusions, and order, which have been handed out, and just very briefly what this will do is it orders the removal of the nuisance conditions and the hazardous building. Under Councilmember Alexander's proposal, that would be within 20 days from the date of the order.
okay.
And Mr. Ives would then have 20 days to follow through and remove the nuisance conditions, remove the hazardous building. If he fails to do that, then my office would then go to Winona County District Court. We would get an order for summary enforcement. We would then have legal authority to enter the property and remove the nuisance conditions and the structure ourselves. Typically, that's done by hiring a contractor. As the building official already alluded to, the estimated cost of doing that is less than $100. Those costs would then be charged to Mr. Ives. If he didn't pay those within 30 days, we would then be coming back to council at some point. After that, to specially assess the property. So that, all of what I just said is contained in the proposed plan.
And I would second.
Okay, motion by Michelle and seconded by Paul. Any further discussion?
I just have a comment. I mean, we don't do this lightly. You know, I mean, when you talk about private property within the city. It has to be followed a certain procedure, which we're doing tonight. I would feel reluctant to vote for it, but I will vote and support the motion because it is a public nuisance. It's defined by our building inspector and all appropriate statutes. And you know, we do it reluctantly because there certainly have been opportunities in the past, since 2000 apparently, for this to be taken care of, and it hasn't been. So, you know, 14 years later, I guess, we just have to take this action.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
Under the petitions, requests, and communications, item 3.1 is a reappointment to the Winona Athletic Board of Mike Velker.
Move to approve that appointment.
I'll second it.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Al. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Item 3.2, appointments to the Human Rights Commission of Joan Rosick and Owen Williams.
Move to approve those appointments.
Second?
Motion by George, seconded by Jerry. Any discussion? Hearing none, vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.3 is a request for no parking on Sugarloaf Road near the Super 8 Hotel.
I would move to approve that request.
Motion by George. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Paul. Discussion? Michelle?
I'm assuming that the trucks are being parked there while the people use the hotel overnight? Is there a place they can park legally overnight? Does anyone know?
An alternative, right now it is legal.
Yes, what I'm saying is where would the truckers be able to park legally if they were gonna use one of our hotels instead of driving the night through?
George?
Yeah, if I can just touch on this briefly here. I had a request from some residents that always travel that hill. And as it shows in here, or it's on the east, southeast side, it's not always semi-trucks, but there's large utility trucks that park there. And sometimes there are semi-trucks that park there, and they cannot get far enough off the road. They do block part of the roadway, which narrows that road down. And brought up to me now with winter coming and trucks still parking there, it even narrows the road more. As far as where can the trucks park, I know the hotel, they have on two sides of it, there's parking. You know, it'd be up to them somehow to try to find a way perhaps to accommodate those, you know, the truck drivers as they come. I'm sure there could be something done, maybe with the business that's up above on the hill as far as parking, though something could be worked out. But it's mainly a safety issue because it narrows that road down.
One question I have is, do we then allow parking, or is parking then permitted on that lake? Looking at the picture,
East Lake Boulevard?
Is that posted no parking, or does that open that up, or those trucks are simply moved?
Mayor?
George?
What Paul's talking about, as I remember now, it is signed no for sale parking.
Yep.
Because we had quite a few cars parking there all the time, you know, for sale, and boats and campers and, you know, all other items.
On
so-
Lake Boulevard.
On Lake
Lake.
Boulevard, yeah.
But is that on the uphill side of Lake, is that permitted? Because I know it's posted on the lower side. So based on this,
On the other side, it's mostly private property and private parking. There'd be no room for someone to park.
well, what I was right here is on this, would it permit then people to assume they can park there?
I don't think that would be nearly as easy.
Would they be subject to alternate side parking there?
I don't know. My question is, would they be able to park there? Because I don't believe that's been posted.
You're talking going around the curb after the stop sign.
Correct.
Yeah, there's no place there to park whatsoever, because that's all road. Because then you have curb and gutter, and then you have the embankment. Yeah, they would not be allowed to park there.
No, they cannot. Okay.
It said, we didn't want to just shift it from one area to another area.
Mayor?
Yes.
Chief, is not Sugarloaf Road, is that exempt from alternate side parking? Okay.
So there's really no, is there any place for those trucks to go? I mean, where would they go if they don't park there? They'd go where? I'm sorry.
Down where it says no for sale marking.
Here. Oh, further down.
So let me get this straight. As long as those trucks aren't for sale, they can park there? Is that what we're saying? Okay. I just want to make sure I was hearing what you were saying.
So we might be just shifting the problem here.
I think what would happen there is the same thing that's happening now. It's gonna be half part of it in the roadway and the other part off to the right of way.
Michelle?
I guess I'm not in favor of this, because although I know trucks park there, I think that probably feeds the Super 8 hotel, but residents and, you know, people that live and work along there park along that entire stretch of road too. I'm not sure where they would go.
Well, they're further up, more towards the top, where there's a place for them to go.
And what I just heard was, as long as it's not for sale, it's okay to park there.
So you're saying you'd rather have the trucks go across a busy road and park in front of the view of the lake?
No, I'm just saying that.
I would rather not.
What I heard was, as long as your vehicle is not for sale, it's okay to park there.
Yes, people park there.
So residents who live on the other side can park there, and trucks who need to park could park there. If we move them from where, if we pass this, we would just move the traffic.
Yes.
Judy?
Mayor and council, my suggestion would be that we'll take this request back, look at the ordinance to make sure we understand where parking is allowed and isn't allowed, what the result is gonna be, and come back at the next meeting.
Yeah, I'm agreeable to that.
Okay.
And maybe as part of that debate or information, we could find out how many trucks usually park there. How many trucks are we talking about? 2, 3, 10, 20? That would be helpful as well.
All right.
Wouldn't be bad also, if possible, to call the Super 8 and find out, maybe this is an impact of one truck that routinely parks there, which causes a problem, or maybe they have a pretty good trucking clientele.
Construction workers that come and go for jobs is what I'm suspecting, because I drive up there frequently. And
I agree with what you're trying to do, but I also understand that it could have an impact on Super 8. And that would force it to the big, the big guys would get the business instead of the small ones, so.
And it might just shift the problem.
Or it just could shift the problem.
And what I could see is there's a big parcel of land right there that's on the downhill side of the road up to Sugarloaf Furniture. And it may be that in that grassy area right there, that there could be sufficient room for parking developed. Not necessarily immediate, but there,
Well, that would have to be, Super 8 would have to do
but
this.
that's an option, yeah.
We'll have staff bring this back at the next meeting.
Withdraw the motion.
You've withdrawn the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
And just one more comment also, I think up by Sugarloaf Furniture, there's a lot of flat space up there as well too. Maybe the hotel could work something out with Sugarloaf Furniture as far as parking a truck overnight over there. And I know there's some buses every now and then too, that, you know, that park along there, so that could, you know, could be another option as well too, so.
Okay, under unfinished business, item 4.1 is the air monitoring resolution.
I would move that we, if I'm going to do this right, council help me out. I move that we submit the attached resolution for inclusion in the MPCA's silica sand rulemaking process.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Al. Discussion? Paul?
Yeah, I will be voting against this resolution for several reasons, and I'll read them. It is a responsibility of the city of Winona to protect its citizens and to provide a regulated, controlled, and safe environment for its residents. As such, we do not need any new statute authority from the state of Minnesota to allow the city of Winona to purchase air monitoring equipment, just as it employs a police force, building inspectors, and other regulatory staff, and equip them with the tools needed to enforce the law. This resolution is just an opportunity for the council to delay what appears to be an avoidance of an expenditure, which it could make on behalf of its taxpayers, if council truly felt that the health and welfare of our residents were at risk. It does not need to defer this to the state, since the city has the statute authority to purchase the test equipment with city funds. This resolution is, in my opinion, a tax, plain and simple, designed to tax a business without additional benefit to that business, thus increasing their cost. A cost which takes away from potential wage increases for their employees and money that might be used to expand Winona area jobs or improve technology in their operations. Like all taxes, we, the consumer, ultimately pay with higher prices. In this case, our failure to step up to the idea that we could install this equipment now at city expense, and to determine once and for all if these facilities do in fact create a harmful and illegal environmental risk.
Okay, thank you.
You know,
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Under new business, item 5.1 is an agreement between the city of Winona and Borkowski Towing and Salvage.
I'd move to authorize the city manager and clerk to execute this agreement.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by George. Any discussion? Al?
I just have a question on the provision on page 2 about towing charges. And it says that the company shall charge $100 plus applicable sales tax in this process. Is that the same amount they've been charging in the past, or is that an increase?
We use them, it went up a little bit.
Okay, so it is a slight increase?
Yep, but it's what they charge everyone to tow.
So that's a standard charge from
From
the
them,
company,
yeah.
not just for
No.
violations
that's-
under the ordinance?
Yep, that's
Okay.
standard to everyone.
Does staff have any comment on that, or is that what they understand it to be? Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, vote. George?
Yeah, just one clarification here, for the audience. My name is Borzakowski. It is not Borkowski. Thank you.
But you'll accept the complaint.
I'll accept the money.
Oh, don't go there, George.
Money for the toll, that is.
Only if it's your own car.
Any further discussion? We'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.2 is the hangar re-roofing at the Winona Airport.
I would move to award the project to Lediger Roofing, being the lowest responsible bidder, and then I have some questions if there's a second.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Al, seconded by Paul. Go ahead, Al.
Question, how long is this re-roofing expected to last? what is the basis for just repairing sections 1 and 4 in our bid? And is the replacement of the building in the current CIP or future CIPs? And when would the work, assuming a successful passage of the motion, when would the work be done?
Council, the warranty is for 20 years.
Okay.
Expected life should be about 19, 20 years is the warranty. 1 and 4 are the active areas that are being used. The other areas are not being used. They are equipped, not in very good condition there as well. But there's nothing in there of value. It's historic area.
Okay.
In there, but the order uses for claims, historic claims in the 1 and 4 areas.
How about the building replacement? Is that in our current 10-year CIP?
Currently, this building is not in replacement.
Why not?
Because we've been pursuing the arrival and departure building, we've been doing reconstruction of the runways. Just hasn't been this one.
So reconstruction really is not the option, it's more demolition in the future?
That's correct. There actually was a report that was put together prior to my coming to Winona that talked about demolition of that particular field. But being it's not the CIP, this is something that'll buy time for us.
Is that a historic structure because it was used by the Watkins Company?
I've not seen anything about that.
Do you know what year it was built?
There's also Southeast End.
And when would the work be done?
I don't know. I don't have that. I suspect spring.
Okay.
We are not aware of the tune yet, so I don't
Yeah.
think of that.
Yeah, I kind of thought that, but I had to ask the question. Okay.
About bad weather.
Yeah. Yeah, let's hope so.
I did notice too that 60 mil or EPDM rubber versus the standard 45 mil, so it is the newer, heavier weight membrane than the standard old 20-year 45 mil EPDM. So.
Okay. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Keith. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 7.1 is council concerns.
Al, we'll start with you tonight.
Thank you. Again, prayers to our councilperson, Pam Iden, for the health of her mother and what they're going through and their family. And I do wish everyone in a few days a very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry?
I'll pass.
Michelle?
I would congratulate both George and Jerry, since I didn't see them after election, on their reelection. It's nice to sit at the table with you both again. And happy Thanksgiving.
Paul?
I just want to remind everybody again that on Saturday, November 22nd, which is this coming Saturday at 7 p.m. at the Winona Middle School, is the play called Bottom, which is about trafficking, and it's sponsored by the public schools as well as St. Paul's Episcopal Church, and there's several people who are local officials who will be on a panel discussion after the play. This play group comes down from the Twin Cities, and they've done this across the state, and would encourage anybody who'd like to go to the middle school and see it at 7 o'clock on this coming Saturday.
Thank you. George?
Okay, thank you. Good luck to Councilwoman Iden and her family on the recovery of their mother's illness, so we'll be thinking of them. Now that the election is over and all the clutter, all the signs and everything are all put away, throughout this past campaign, we heard a lot of talk from my opponent, from myself, from other people seeking public office, and that's the railroad crossing on Mankato Avenue, the switching of trains, which has become a very, very big safety concern. As the intersection is blocked for 25 to 30 minutes, sometimes more, sometimes less, sometimes 4 times a day, 5 times a day, whatever it may be, but it's several. A safety concern develops, cars racing west on Mark, east on Mark, trying to get to the next crossing. Sometimes it's blocked on Louisa Street, Mankato, and Hamilton Street. Mayor, I would ask your support, I would ask the council support as well to join with me in asking our city manager to begin investigation into this, and not so much an investigation, but begin to work on a resolution on getting the switch plate off of Mankato Avenue and keeping that intersection open. The time has come, it can no longer be tolerated. We've all heard about it. I know staff has heard about it. Chief, I know your department received several calls on it as that crossing is being blocked. We need to come up with a resolution to keep that open. It's the main artery to the hospital. It's the main artery out to Highway 61. It's just, it can no longer be blocked for a large period of time. So I would ask that you continue to look into whoever you need to meet with. Mayor, I'd like to have you in those meetings. I would like to be in them. Anyone else from council? I know you've had some rail meetings, and to continue to look at getting a way to keep this intersection open. So it'd be appreciated very, very much, because the issue is not going to go away, as it was a very, very strong campaign issue. Keith, when does the compost site contract come up?
I don't have exactly, we just renewed it 2 years ago.
Okay.
Got a few years.
Okay, 2 years, 3 years, or?
I think at least 3.
Okay, all right, so. And also, I'd just simply like to say thank you to all the voters for their support in this past election, for putting your trust and confidence in me. I will continue to represent all of you folks to the best of my ability. And happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Under the consent agenda, there are 2 items. Item 8.1 is the approval of the minutes from the November 3rd and November 10th meetings. And item 8.2 is the final adoption of the CUP ordinance amendments.
I would move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Al, seconded by Jerry. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion to, and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.